try to get into the Halloween theme with the smoke. Might have been too much. Might have been too much. But anyway, thank you for checking out another video of mine. In this video, I was just thinking about, it's the month of October and Halloween and everything, and I thought I'm going to recommend some mangas that I think really give off the vibe of Halloween. And a couple mangas that I'm reading to get into the Halloween spirit. I gotta start off with Berserk. And I know this manga, one, is been talked about to death, obviously. But the reason that I think it gives October vibes, less serial killer, Friday the 13th type vibes, but the dark fantasy elements in this manga and the artwork that he draws, which is amazing. And I've said that before, and I will say it again, it is amazing. But I just think the goriness and the dark fantasy elements of this manga, when you read it and you look at this artwork, it absolutely gives off October vibes. It's Death Note. I mean, look at the black covers, and especially these black editions. If this doesn't give off Halloween, October vibes, just the look of this book, look at it. It screams Halloween. But yeah, if you somehow have found this video and you don't know what Death Note is, Light is a high school kid that finds a Death Note, and anytime he writes a name in it and writes away, someone dies. They die within, I think, 30 minutes. I think it's 30 minutes. It's been a while. I need to reread this, but it's been a while. But the reason that I recommend this during October is that it's not your, again, like Berserk, it's not your stereotypical when you think of Halloween. But I think that the world that it builds and the Shinigamis and all that, it just, to me, it screams ghouls and ghosts and goblins. It screams that part of Halloween. And I think on like a rainy October night and you read this volume of Death Note, it will kind of put you in the spirit of what Halloween and October is. The third one's Monster. And if you've watched any, pretty much I try to sneak it into almost any video, you know how I feel about this author. It's the same author as 20th Century Boys, Asadora, if you can see at the top shelf, and Monster. Yes, okay, I know what you're thinking. This has nothing to do with, like, demons and ghouls and ghosts. It's the opposite of Death Note. You're right. But the reason that I think this is a good read, one, I think this is one of classic manga that you should read, regardless of what month it is. If you don't know, Monster is the story of a surgeon that makes a certain choice, and he kind of feels responsible for unleashing a serial killer to the world, and his battle with that. So while it doesn't have, supernatural spooks, showing a serial killer and literally the evilness of man is something that can definitely get you into the Halloween spirit. If you're looking for a manga that actually has a really fantastic story with some stabby dark elements, I cannot recommend this manga enough. I think you should absolutely give it a try. It's a well-told story with a killer twist. See what I did there? Killer twist. And I couldn't do a Halloween theme recommendation of manga without the last two on this list, both by Junji Ito. You have Uzumaki, which, this manga, out of the entire list, even the next one, I think is the quintessential Halloween manga. I'll tell you why. Is because it tells the story of these spirals, and not only is the artwork classic horror artwork, I think the story that it tells is a classic horror October Halloween themed story. Because while, like, yes, Death Note has a great story, Monster has a great story, Berserk has a great, all these stories are so good, and the dark or the supernatural or the killer elements of all those stories do make it a good recommendation during this time of year. This is the one story that I think personifies when you want to, on a dark night in October, maybe some rain outside, where you just kind of want to curl up and kind of get real freaked out. Not only is the story freaky, but the artwork that goes along with it amplifies it to the next level. And if I had to push one up to a number one spot on this list, it would have to be this one. And if you've never checked out Junji Ito, this is my first ever book that I bought from Junji Ito. And I think that if you enjoy horror kind of mangas, he's the best to ever do it. I mean, just look at this artwork. I don't know if you can see it. I'll put some B-roll in, but this artwork will live in your brain for the whole month of October. Trust me. And the last one on the recommendation list before we get to the couple that I'm personally reading in the month of October is Junji Ito, No Longer Human. Now, what makes this manga... I recommend this manga to people that think that they can handle really touchy subjects when it comes to like drug use and the crumbling of a human being and some of the bad decisions that they make with a lot of elements of their life. And I really debated putting this on here because it is recommended, but you just really have to be able to handle that kind of stuff because there are images in this manga that will mess you up. I mean, disclaimer, a lot of these images mess me up. And I feel like I can kind of handle a lot of things, but some of this stuff really messed me up. Just a disclaimer. I think it's great, but it comes with that caveat. So, No Longer Human is actually an adaptation of an autobiographical novel. And I hope that they took some liberties and made stuff a little bit more dramatic than what's in here. I hope. Because if not... But the reason that I recommend this during Halloween is kind of the same reason that I recommended Monster. Is that Halloween doesn't have to be about skeletons and ghosts and you know, hauntings, which are cool, but I think this gives off the Halloween vibe. One, because again, his artwork is very horror artwork. Even when he's dealing with a lot of human drama, he draws it in a horror manga way, which is unique and very cool to see. The reason that it makes this list is that when you are in the Halloween mood, you might not like supernatural things. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm going to recommend some stuff that is horror, but horror of man, horror of the human nature, and the fight against that human nature that sometimes people lose. And, you know, sometimes people just can't catch a break or they get in their own way. I mean, it could be it's not a manga video, but it could be a whole video about how some people just get caught up in a lot of bad decisions and a lot of bad life choices and they can't find a way out. And another disclaimer, it does deal with suicide. So again, like I said, it touches on a lot of touchy subjects for people. But if you are interested in that kind of thing, I think Not only is he one of the best mangakas, I think he is one of the only ones that can do this story justice and actually make you feel for human beings that maybe you shouldn't feel for. I know that recommendation had a lot of disclaimers and like caveats, but I really do think that if you are able to deal with that kind of stuff and not be triggered by that kind of stuff, I think you can find something in it. And I think that you can enjoy it. Sounds like such a weird word to say with some of the things that it deals with, but you will find something in it that will make it worth reading. So on to lighter topics now, because that last recommendation was a little heavy-handed. I hope you enjoyed those recommendations and find something that maybe you haven't heard of or want to check out. But for me, in the month of October, what I'm checking out, I've heard things about it. Tokyo Ghoul. I don't know really anything about Tokyo Ghoul. I was talking to Rex, a friend of mine, and everyone's shocked when they're like, "Oh, you don't know?" I don't. I'm going into Tokyo Ghoul completely blind. I think it had, from the back of the manga, it says something to do with half human, half ghoul. So it seems like it's very supernaturally kind of ghouly, and I don't know. Just with that cover, it just looks like a perfect Halloween supernatural manga to read. So let me know if you've read Tokyo Ghoul, and don't spoil it, but if it's A+ or an F. And the other manga that I'm reading for the month of October to kind of get the Halloween vibe is Parasyte. This is another one that I don't know anything about. I like going into mangas blind most of the time, but I do know that it's like an alien attaches itself to some high school kid's like limbs, and he can kind of like, I don't know, grow tentacles. He's got eyeballs in his hand. So I've heard the anime is amazing, and I've heard the manga is fantastic. So I do feel like this kind of has like an alien horror element. So I do think that this is going to be a good October read for me. And just like Tokyo Ghoul, let me know if you've read Parasyte and if it's an A+ or an F. I think out of the two, I'm most excited to read Parasyte because I have just heard really great things about it. Let me know if you enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed my recommendations and you found something like, oh, I haven't heard of that, I'm going to check it out for the month of October, or what you're reading to celebrate the Halloween month of October. But yeah, as always, I appreciate everyone that watches the whole video and enjoys me doing manga videos, because I just enjoy hopping on here and talking with everybody. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.